Over here. Finally saw the French Dispatch. Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today our movie in the middle is The French Dispatch. The French Dispatch is the newest movie by Wes Anderson, a love letter to journalism starring everyone. One thing I found very interesting about this movie is that it's definitely got the stylistic Wes Anderson look to it that he has in every single one of his movies. The symmetrical nature of all the shots, the fact that they're composed very specifically, but he does some new stuff I've never seen him do before. Now, I should put it into context that there are a bunch of Wes Anderson movies I still haven't seen yet, some of his earlier stuff, so he may have done some of these techniques in those older ones, but there's just a lot of variations of what he does based on what's happening in a certain scene or a certain story. Like, instead of very smooth still shots, he'll have shaky cam, or the aspect ratio changes, or it changes from black and white to color, which is one thing I thought was really cool because the whole point of this is to talk about journalism, which is about the black and white page, words on a white page. So I thought it was a really cool stylistic choice to have most of it in black and white and then have parts that are in color emphasize something that's about art or something that should be colorful or something that's important to the story. In terms of color too, one thing I thought was really cool was that he does a lot of animation, which he's done this before, in things like Isle of Dogs, and obviously, it being claymation and claymation in Fantastic Mr. Fox. But I think it was really fitting for this because the animation went along with that idea of this is like a journal, and you're going to have pictures in it to go along with a lot of these stories. And of course, going along with all those visuals, all the set designs, the costume designs, everything just really brings you in to this world. He just has a really great sense of how to make something we already know, places we already have seen, just feel more like they are in a fictional story. And the stories themselves were really cool. It was a little different than I thought it was going to be because I thought it was going to be specifically about the journalistic department. But what it actually is a movie that goes through in visual form what this last edition of the French Dispatch holds. So it'll go through the travel guide, and then it'll go through 3 different stories. It'll go through the appendix, whatever. But we see it played out as a story while it's actually happening before it's written. And then the editor, Bill Murray, will go through after each story and say, I want this cut, I want that cut, you should add this. So it was a really cool concept. And so the stories were very interesting because they were just on all different types of things. They had different angles on journalism within them, and obviously how each writer presented it and what they learned from it. So it was actually a really interesting idea. And they were all, of course, very quick paced and fun. It had that Wes Anderson, like, we're not going to skip a beat, we are not going to miss a moment or have anything be too slow. We might hold on something for a second, but it's mostly that we're just telling the story. He really is a storyteller. He doesn't always focus on really tight moments or really intense things and sit on them and it's like, wow, the emotion. He's like, no, 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 no. This is just a cool thing that I came up with. Let's just tell the story. Really fun, really fast. Everybody can love it. So even if you're confused about a certain moment or you think that something might be a little too artsy, you kind of don't really care. Most mainstream audiences won't really care because it's just so quick and fun and well told. Now, I will say that with each successive story, at least for me, I got a little bit more confused and it felt like they got a little bit more dense, a little bit more wordy, and a little bit more confusing. But the thing is that it's just a lot of exposition and a lot of words. So if you're listening to it, you can probably follow what's going on. It's just so quick that it's a little hard sometimes. So with that being said, I'm going to introduce the idiot clause. The idiot clause reads, if the possibility arrives that Matt's intellectual abilities do not meet that of those necessary to understanding a certain scene or shot which has been clearly stated, the critique therein will not count against said items. Basically, if I'm stupid, it cannot go against the movie. So it's probably one of those things that on a second, third time around, I'll get more and more of what it's talking about. But on a first watch, I will say probably for most people in the audience, it still will just be not too quick, but just it's a little too much. So it's like, what is going on? There's so many people, especially in the third story that they have, that it can probably get a little confusing. And so it took me out of it just a little bit. I even turned to my brother and I said, "Do you have any idea what's going on?" And he was like, "Yeah." And then like 3 minutes later, he was like, "Maybe not." Also, and this is just a personal nitpicky thing, when there's movies that are about art or writing or journalism or whatever it might be in terms of making something, I always expect that they're going to have more scenes about the literally making it. And 9 times out of 10, that's never the case. And while it was a really, really cool concept, and I love the idea of the movie being the actual dispatch, I wanted more scenes in the office, more scenes of them talking about the writing, more scenes of them doing the writing. I thought that would have been really cool. That's just a personal thing, but still something I wanted more of. Especially because Bill Murray's the editor, and who doesn't want more Bill Murray? So overall, The French Dispatch is really fun. It's a really cool concept. The stories themselves are very intriguing because there's a lot of really great details in them, and just all the different angles. If you like one story, you may not like the other, but there's probably going to be one in there that you at least really love. It was a lot of new stuff for Wes Anderson that he did technically, at least that I hadn't seen before, so it was kind of experimental for him, and you may not get everything that's going on at first, or it might seem a little too artsy, a little too much, but on a second, third time around, it probably will make a little bit more sense. It's one of those that I think you have to watch a few times. I'm going to give The French Dispatch a 3.5 out of 4. Guys, let me know what you thought of The French Dispatch in the comments below if you have seen it, and let me know what your favorite Wes Anderson movie is. Actually, let me know if you like his style or if you don't, because some people, I think, it gets on their nerves, but at least for me, a perfectionist, I love it. It stresses me out, but I love it. And as always, keep your hopes high, your stress low, and movies directly in the middle. I'll see you guys later.